to win a best-of-7 series when trailing 3-0. It's a Fitz and Harry takeover of Keyshawn JWill and Max on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, ESPN News. Harry Douglas, Jason Fitz. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. And Harry, I was yelling at my TV Saturday night. I'm sitting there. I got two TVs on. I got one, humble brag, one over here on the Golden Knights. That did not go the way that I wanted it to. We'll talk about that later. And then the other one sitting here on a little NBA action, just hanging out, watching. And everybody's watching the last play of the game. And I'm thinking there's no way that went in time. There is no way this has happened. But in an instant, we went from all of a sudden thinking Miami had found a way to get to the NBA Finals to realizing that the tip-in is good and Boston is headed back to Boston to fight for Game 7. It was wild, man.
Well, just an unbelievable game, Fitz. I think it's going to go down in history as one of the best playoff games, especially when it comes to finishing. And the raw of emotions, from Miami Heat fans, from in the arena, watching it on TV, those that was listening to it on radio, feeling like they had an opportunity to, make an NBA Finals appearance for the second time, and I think in the last 4 years, all to be negated because the shot by Derek White or the rebound and putback by Derek White was good. But then you think about the Boston Celtics fans and their raw of emotions. A lot of them probably thought their season was over. Probably some players thought their season was over. But no, but it also shows you that, guys paying attention to detail. And when I say that, is that Derek White, it's not a play that tells him to go chase down that rebound and put it back in. Right there, he didn't sit at the three-point line and watch Marcus Smart shoot that basketball. You want to know why? Because there are thousands of people in that arena who pay money to sit and watch that play happen. Being coachable, doing the little things that matter in a basketball game, the hustle plays, the little intangibles that make you a great basketball team, but also gives you life to be able to force a Game 7 because you did the little things right that coaches shouldn't have to tell you. Follow up, go to the offensive board and try to get a rebound. And Derek White did that in that game.
I'm just stunned as I'm watching it while you're talking. They're playing it on the TV broadcast again and again. And I just keep thinking, you know me, man, I live by this whole motto of sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But to be lucky, you got to be good. Like it all sort of happens together. But there were so many intangible, like the fact that Marcus Smart heaves up the ball with just enough time and then it hits the rim, but it bounces out. So it rims in and out, but it doesn't take an extra bounce. Like the slightest extra bounce, and this thing isn't happening. But instead, it comes off of his hands. And you mentioned Derek White playing hard. This is what he said after the game about that play.
I was passing it in. Vincent was on me, and he kind of was up top denying JT, so I couldn't get hit the ball. And I did a good job of denying JB too, and Smart Flash hit him, and there really was nobody on me. So I just spaced to the corner, and then when he shot it, just tried to crash. Ball came to me, I made a shot, so that's what I saw.
I mean, Harry, let me just go back and rewrite this for you. If I were to tell you on Friday when we were leaving Fitz and Harry, I'd be like, you know what? Got to watch out for Derek White at the end of the game. Like, hey, they're going to have an inbounds pass. It's not going to go to Tatum. It's not going to go to Brown. It's going to go to a weird three by Marcus Smart, and they're going to be relying on Derek White. Like, if you drew it up that way, if you're the Heat, you probably feel pretty good. But to your point, there were a bunch of Heat players that just couldn't seem to get that play made, whereas the Celtics were all crashing at one point. It felt like chaos for the Celtics. They knew everything was on the line, and they got it off with that fraction of a second.
Well, it's one of the things that's been hurting the Miami Heat in this series is offensive rebounds, and that may have been the only offensive rebound, I think, in the second half for the Boston Celtics. I got to go back and look at that, but that is something that has been transpiring, especially these last three games, that have cost the Miami Heat these last three games. It's offensive rebounding by the Boston Celtics, but you got to give them a lot of credit, for not letting their guards down and continue to have that energy and that spunk to go crash the boards and create second chance points. And now they're in the position to make history, to try to make history and be the first NBA team ever to come back from being down 3-0 in a series and actually winning it and going to an NBA Finals.
Yeah, I think the emotion is going to be wild, too. He's Harry Douglas. I'm Jason Fitz. It's Fitz and Harry takeover, Keyshawn JWill and Max. And, you mentioned emotion. Think about what it's like for the Heat and for the Celtics. If you're the Heat, you're watching that go in, and your immediate thought is, we won. We're headed to the NBA final. Because in that moment, you didn't know.
Yeah.
In that moment,
did you see Gabe Vincent?
Yep.
Gabe Vincent was raising his hand like, no good. We won. We won it. No, boss. Let's go to the monitors.
Yeah,
no.
And it's not even just the emotion of like, hey, we lost that game. It's the emotion of we were going to the NBA finals, and now we got to go back to Boston. Conversely, if you're Boston, there had to be some level of your heart sinking in your chest. Jimmy Butler hits 3 free throws. It looks like this thing is over. You're not sure you got that miracle off. Looks like your season's dead. And then all of a sudden you go to the replay and everybody's got it. Like the ability to let this game just not be in your mind and reset for game 7 for both sides, I think it's going to be wildly difficult.
But it's going to be hard. But when you have a trip to the NBA Finals on the line, in which Fitz, we are a year removed from a Game 7 last year. Game 7 in this series between these two teams happened on May 29th, 2022. So exactly to the date, today is a Game 7 for these two teams with a berth to the NBA Finals on the line. So I think at some point you have to compartmentalize and say, you know what? That was an emotional win for us if you're the Boston Celtics, but we need to lock back in because the job isn't done. If you're the Miami Heat, that was an emotional loss for you as a basketball team. But when you have a coach like Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler, it's your job not to allow your players on your basketball team, let that be, I'll say, the makeup of Game 7. There's no time to feel sorry for yourself. You got to regroup. And I love what Spoelstra said after the game. And, hey, listen, if we could play 48 minutes right now, we want to do that. We want this opportunity.
Actually, I have that here. Here is Spo after the game, and listen to the intensity with which he talks here.
We wish we could tip this thing off right now. Right now, we want to tip this thing off. And let's play another 48 minutes, but we'll wait 48 hours and do this thing in Boston.
Harry, that's got. I mean, come on, the former player, and you hear him. He's tapping the table. He's into it. You
right
know
now,
he's
now.
He's giving it to you twice.
But Fitz, you're right though, man. Like the raw of emotions between the players. Because we talk about the fans all the time and their emotions, right? But these players going through these moments, and you've seen the look, the disbelief on some of the Boston Celtics players' faces. Like, we actually won the game. The shot is actually made. It counted. Now we get a chance for a Game 7. We have another lifeline. It's like a black cat. They got 9 lives. They get another life.
Yeah.
That's raw emotion of that. But you can't sit there and ride that emotion when you get to Game 7. You need to be locked in. You don't want to come out too high. You don't want to come out too low. You want to be even keel, and you want to, do the things possible to make the NBA Finals. And if you're the Miami Heat, you can't let that moment have your basketball team go in disarray to the point of where you're not able to function in a Game 7.
Nick Friedel said after Game 6, our buddy who's covering the team said, shocked. This is his quote, shocked. The disbelief in that Miami locker room was palpable. One of the quietest locker rooms I've ever been in. Everybody seemed a little shell-shocked. About 10 or 15 minutes later, Gabe Vincent played Ed Sheeran's Life Goes On his phone. That's real, Harry. I mean, they thought they were headed to the NBA Finals. I will say this loudly for the next 4 hours. I have no idea what the hell to expect tonight. I would not be surprised if Miami comes out with the Thunder, the gods. I also wouldn't be surprised if they can't handle the emotion of everything and they just melt away. Like, I have no idea. I am so clueless on what to look for in this Game 7 because I could see so many different ways that Miami comes out. I think it's going to be wild.
But look, here's the funny part. You just said those Heat players thought what? What did they think?
They thought they were headed to the NBA Finals.
Well, maybe they would have if their 2 best players would have showed up the entire game.
Aha, coming up. The Heat role players showed up. One of the biggest stars in the NBA didn't. How should we actually be viewing Jimmy Butler right now? We'll tell you that next. But first, Harry has to tell you this about FanDuel.
Ooh, make it fast.